let's get going. Gaëlle, shall we start the show?
Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar that we are very delighted to host with our partner XTM International. So as you see in the title of the slide, our goal is quite ambitious because we want to help your organization to find gold in your data. So let's tell you how we can do it. So before we start, I just want to share with you some logistic information. So this webinar is recorded. You will get access to the recording in a few days. So you are on mute and please use the chat panel to ask any questions, and we will have a Q&A session at the end to address them. So now let me introduce myself. So I'm Gaëlle Bou. I lead business development at SYSTRAN for now more than 6 years. And for those who don't know us yet, SYSTRAN is a pure player in machine translation and leader in enterprise solution. And I'm very pleased to share the stage this morning with Dave.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Ruane. I lead content and partnerships at XTM International, who's a software company that builds the translation management system, XTM Cloud. Really nice to be here. And Gaëlle, we have a good crowd here today. Let's start talking about how folk can mine for gold, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give you an idea of the agenda today, so in this session, we will give you a very quick overview of our both companies. We will share our vision of where we are in the MT history, explain the joint technology we have built with XTM that we will illustrate with concrete examples and also a customer feedback before looking forward to what is next. So just to present very quickly SYSTRAN. So as I said, we are a pure player for now more than 50 years. So of course, at the forefront of all MT innovations, we are very focused on enterprise needs with high level of customization and performances. And I think we can say that we offer the larger deployment capability today to the market with on-premise, private cloud, public cloud solution, and with a high standards of security, because it's what we experimented for years with many governments projects all over the world. So MT is mainly used in the 5 business cases you see on this slide. And as you can see also, we have great customers references in each of them. This relationship is of trust we have with them is really the major reason why we are still there. So MT quality level is being higher and higher, and usage are really expanding for sure at many levels of the company. And so we manage more global projects in the company to serve all these translation needs and interacting with human translators, with TMS, with business applications. So I would like to draw your attention on one thing. So develop a machine translation engine is one thing. It is a completely other dimension to develop hundreds of translation models, scalable architecture to serve thousands of employees in the company, and ensure data privacy and security. And this is what we do. So Dave, I let you now present XTM International. Sorry.
So XTM has been in this space, translation management system space since the outset of the category. So that's 20 years ago. The founders had a vision for a cloud system in a world of, if anyone remembers back then, client-server architectures, and really before cloud was trusted, and certainly before it is what it is now. They put a premium on open connectivity, so building partnerships and connectivity between technologies, and having smart built technology and smart people. We integrated machine translation systems early on, such as SYSTRANs, and launched our own AI NLP framework back in 2020. In the past few years, what we've noticed is that TMS systems, translation management systems, have become a standard to have. It's a must-have. We've grown to meet that need. We've also seen that the standard tech stack for the language tech stack is a neural machine translation engine and a TMS engine that are working well together. So our founders, who are Bob and Andy, still are fully involved in the operation of the company, and glad to be here today. Our system, simply put, is XTM Cloud is a way for various teams to manage translation projects in one system. They can be anywhere they want to be. They can be in different business units. It is infinitely scalable and customizable, meaning users can have access to all language assets and project information on a role-based permissions approach. We also have extensive workflow automation, our own AI, as I've mentioned, and work hand in hand with neural machine translation solutions like SYSTRAN. What we say is only part. One of the things we're proudest of is when our customers are working in our system, they start to see the potential for immediate gains and longer term gains. You know, the system gives that ability for them to increase their translation management maturity in a clear and managed way. And also, we have a regular cadence on new features, which are driven by user requests as well, using our wishlist tool. So that's a bit the prelims. Shall we speak, Gaëlle, a bit more about, you know, what's happening in the space with NMT?
Of course. Thank you for this introduction. So yes, I have a question here. So we could think that generic machine translation quality being higher and higher, we shouldn't need any more customization or linguistic adaptation. So the question is, it could be there, and this is the complete opposite. So we see that really machine translation usage is wider, more strategic for enterprises, and professionals are more and more demanding on both output quality and productivity. So the need for customization is higher than ever and asked to be easy to use and quick to serve all the different use cases within the company. So here, let me share this graph. So this graph represents translation quality on the horizontal axis and customization demand on the vertical one. So for rule-based periods, of course, customization was mandatory for MT to be just usable. In the statistical periods, the game changed, and the jump in quality came mostly with additional in massive data and technology and very minimum focus on customization. Then the surprise came with NMT, with a huge jump in quality and fluency, but coming with an expensive demand of customization from the professional users.
And Gaëlle, that customization is probably coming because it's more usable, right? And there's more use cases. Like, I always think of a car, you know, if you have a car and it has a lovely sunroof and a beautiful LED display and all the bells and whistles, and it's missing a wheel, well, people can't use it. You know, it's not usable for basic function.
Absolutely. When you have the good basis, the good usage, you can be more demanding on what you expect from this technology. So it's exactly that. So on this Gartner Cycle, so you can see that it is very simple and it is applied well to all new breakthrough of technology. So here, in our case, the trigger, they mention a technology trigger. So the trigger is NMT, introduced in 2016. Then, of course, you had an enormous peak of inflated expectation. And at some point, people were asking, but do we need still translators, human translators? Then we had the disillusion, yes, they said, came from the absence of further technological breakthrough, because everybody was expecting more sequential quality jump served by technology. So then expectation and reality balanced, and we are now at stabilization, where industry is embracing the technologies through two major challenges. So it's really the two ones we see: integration and customization. So customization is more relevant than ever before, for sure. And so it's not the core technology that is a differentiator anymore, for sure, because the NMT state of the art, as you may know, is open source today, so everyone can access to it. The second point I want to highlight is customization is not just a bonus. It's not a little thing. It's a lot. What you can gain from a customization is just a lot. It's really the blue score you can have is really huge. And there is multiple techniques of customization that has been developed. And finally, offer and demand are converging. So custom NMT is now becoming the standard, really. So to be clear on that, we try to do better. So with the custom NMT as a basis. And so can you explain, Dave, what we did together to go beyond this custom NMT?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of reiterate a little bit this whole point, you know, as Gaëlle has just said, neural machine translation has reached its technological peak. Now it's about customizations, as Gaëlle said, and other ways to integrate, deploy, and connect it. Or in other words, you know, get smarter. Today, we're going to talk about how having an NMT engine, neural machine translation engine, and the translation management system environment working closer together can give you clear gains from assets you already may have. This is a bit like the gig economy, where you are using an asset you already have in a way which did not happen before, which you might agree, you know, nowadays is a good thing. Currently in the current and foreseeable global economic climate, let's use what we have. And this is the technology we're going to talk about. And like a lot of these, it's logical, and you can say, oh, why didn't we think about that before, right? But so let me introduce AI-enhanced TM, which is powered by SYSTRAN neural fuzzy technology. It fits very well into the standard localization workflows, and really what happens is it's providing an input to neural machine translation engines, which is coming from fuzzy matches, which come from translation memories. And we'll explain that a little bit more in a little bit. The outcomes of this are the important things, right? It reduces costs and improves the machine translation output. It also helps with the incremental training, as you see there, of the neural MT engines, using validated assets which you already have. So translation memories tend to be validated. We feel it's quite a groundbreaking technology, even though, as I said earlier, the concept might seem simple enough. We've a question we'd like to ask you before we go to the next slide. And let's see if we can run the poll. I'm not sure, Alex, if we can do that. So you should see a question pop up, which is, how important is it for you to maximize how you optimize usage of your language assets? Bit of a mouthful there, but is it not that important for you on how you maximize and optimize usage at this stage? Is it becoming more important? Is it extremely important for you, or do you just want to find out more information? We'd love your contribution to the poll, if you don't mind. It will just help us understand, you know, where you are at in your thinking as we move this conversation forward. Let's talk about how this works. Really what's happening, and I don't want to get too technical here, so you know, feel free to ask any questions if it sounds like it, or stop me. But what's happening is what we call mid-level fuzzy matches from the translation memory are being provided to the machine translation engine. So what does mid-fuzzy mean? Well, we're talking about, imagine we have a sentence like, the black cat wears a hat. And then we have another sentence, the black cat has a white hat. So you can see there's some similarities there. And we'd probably say, you know, there's 70-something% similarity between those two sentences. That's what we call a mid-fuzzy match. So that where there's reasonably high percentage of match, they're not exactly the same, although some of the structure would be similar. So remember that validated translation memories are key and a valuable asset for companies who translate content, okay? That's should be something that you have in your own organizations. What if you could send that validated information to the machine translation engine. And this is what AI-enhanced TM does. In the example, in the video, you can see that we're trying to translate the sentence, "How long does the flight last?" And our translation memory has already got the translation for "How long does the flu last?" Which may be something we'll worry more about in the coming months. But anyway, so it can tell the MT engine to use the translation for "How long does something last?" So that's coming from the translation memory. And then the neural machine translation engine looks at that and goes, "Thank you very much," replaces flu with flight, and it does some sanity checks to validate rules like noun gender rules and things like that. And it provides a very high quality translation, which is based off validated content coming from the translation memory. What we see here is a really key use case for this technology. This would increase the quality of what goes through the neural machine translation engine, and what comes out will reduce things like post-editing efforts, which overall has the impact of reducing costs. This functionality does have various use cases, though. Let's look at another one. So here, we'll let this video run. And what you'll see is the machine translation engine is working away on a set of sentences. And as it comes across an issue, I'll let it catch up to me. So suddenly there's an issue. What kind of glasses do they mean? So you could have different types of glasses. If we were to turn on AI-enhanced TM, powered by SYSTRAN Neural Fuzzy, this then checks the translation memory and finds a close match, which provides context to the engine, the machine translation engine, and it can infer correctly that the glasses, in this case, should be the kind you wear and not the kind you drink from. This is done automatically between the two systems with no human intervention. And that's another use case. And as we said, there are multiples of this. We wanted to share two with you now. And in fact, we're going to ask Mikolai, who's joined us today, just to give you a demo of this live, so that you can get another sense of how this will be seen in a real production environment. So Mikolai is one of the XTM experts who helps customers with implementation and training on XTM Cloud. So Mikolai, over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Nice to meet you all. So let me now show you the feature in action. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. First of all, I would like to show you some MT matches, so SYSTRAN machine translation matches coming from the so-called standard engine, right? So in this example, you can see Polish as a source and English as a target. And here you see the translation using MT only accept translations that have already been checked. And that machine translation segment was later and let's say post-edited by the translator, by the linguist, and it was saved in the translation memory. And now I would like to show you how the AI TM enhanced SYSTRAN MT match looks like with the same segment coming from the translation memory. So the example here would be this one. You can see that the source segment is slightly changed, and only 2 words were added to the original segment. And here you can already see that we have a translation memory match, which is slightly different, accept only verified translations. And originally it was only accept translations that have already been checked, because the translator changed this translation to something which was post-edited, and then it was saved in the TM. And excuse me. And then in the in the actual when it comes to the feature we were talking about, actually XTM sent the 75 to 84% match, which is this one within that range, 82%, to SYSTRAN engine. And then what SYSTRAN does, SYSTRAN actually does the, so to say, delta computation and returns the match, which contains that specific match from the translation memory, but also adds the additional translation, right, which wasn't present in the translation memory. So you can see here that this specific phrase was added, and then the word previously was added using the feature of AI-enhanced TM within SYSTRAN MT. And this is just one of the examples. So you can see that this specific translation, if I now accept it, it really doesn't require any additional rework. So it's like the empty match infused with the translation memory match coming from XTM translation memory, and in the range that Dave was referring to, from 75 to 85%. Another example I would like to show you, and would be this one. So the translation originally in the translation memory for a very similar source was linguistic quality assessment feature, allows you to effectively control and manage translation quality. And so what we did here, and the machine translation simply adjusted, or the SYSTRAN MT adjusted the translation memory and added additional content coming from the MT engine. So another example, if I look at the very original MT match, would be, for example, this segment, automatically start translation projects, right? This is the original machine translation match coming from SYSTRAN, and then after it was saved in the translation memory with some small changes, it actually now looks differently, because in the translation memory, we have start projects automatically, right? It actually means almost the same, obviously, as in the MT, but now we can see that what MT did, it actually additionally added the translation, word translation, right? So start translation projects automatically. So what MT did, SYSTRAN MT did, it took the 75-84% match, which is 79, and simply added the translation of the word, of this Polish word, into English translation, right? So I guess you get a gist of it. Maybe just one more example, and this is going to be segment number 24. That's an interesting one. You can see we have a translation of this phrase using MT, standard SYSTRAN MT, saying translate files or get a machine translation proposal, right? Now let's look how it looks in the second system, or in this system. So it was segment, double check, 24, and then I will finish. Now you can see that we have the slight changes to the source in the new text, right? And what was done, we used a slightly different translation because it was coming from the translation memory, so it was after post-editing. And what XTM or SYSTRAN MT with AI-enhanced TM did, it actually added some additional content. So actually it took part, first of all, it changed the word proposal to suggestions, right? So you can see that the MT matches, SYSTRAN MT matches, using the 75-84% translation memory, increase the quality of the actual translation or the target segment without the need to additionally make any additional post-edits corrections. So that's a very good combination and of the two features we have together with SYSTRAN. So thank you very much. I think that's it.
Thanks, Mick. Thank you, Mikolaj. Lots of use cases there. Hopefully you didn't get lost in the small text of the demo. But
I understood everything, Dave. So I think it's a sign that it's okay.
we'll do a quiz at the end, maybe to check, right? But you know, the concept here is that you're making use in different scenarios, and as Mikolaj showed, that's the kind of manual view on it, and there are ways of automating that workflow. And Mikolaj, thank you very much. Let's
thank you.
Talk a little bit about you know, what customers think of this, and let's have a look at a use case. So one particular use case that we like a lot is with a company. We'll just get the slides going. Thank you. Called Ariel, and Ariel Corp. They are one of the largest manufacturers of separable reciprocating gas compressors. So they're in the industrial manufacturing space. Their systems are utilized by global energy companies, and they provide translations into various markets, including markets such as Spain, Chinese, and others. They took a kind of a logical journey in implementing a translation management system, which is XTM Cloud, and a neural machine translation engine, SYSTRAN. So they followed some steps to use it, test it, see the value, and then move on to the next steps. And this is something which we've seen quite common in approaches. Let's have a look at the kind of, what does the process look like? So the how, how does that actually work for them? One part of their content comes from a CMS system, which is Adobe Experience Manager in this case. So their documents would come from that system. They would then automatically be routed for a translation into XTM Cloud, which then would pass the information to SYSTRAN. There would then be a post-editing cycle on the machine translated output, and then we would move into a next level of review. So they have a couple of steps in their particular process. One is a client review, and the other one is a Q&A. And all of this is managed within the translation management system. When that workflow is finished, then the content is put straight back into AEM in this case, and that's the end of the workflow until the next trigger of content to go out, and it goes through the same thing. So that was the original workflow. Now, if we just move forward, we will see that there was an easy way to add in AI-enhanced TM. So it basically just bridged in there where you see, and had the impact of reducing post-editing efforts and then enhancing the quality. So, this is incremental improvements, but in the case of Ariel, certainly significant and part of a roadmap that they wanted to follow. If we just move forward, the overall benefits of this solution were significant. In particular, I'll call out to you the quality of output statistic. Sometimes people question, oh, machine translation, I don't know, I'm concerned, will that work for me? Now, certainly, this was something which, was proven. Ruane, one of our contacts there, was particularly happy with how that has worked. And it speaks to the overall, efficiency of streamlining, which businesses are really about nowadays. So time to market improvements, time to value improvements, and then good cost management and reduction in costs. And that's what was seen through the implementation of this architecture and AI-enhanced TM. So
impressive, huh? This use case, very impressive.
Yeah, and one of the things with this kind of technology that we've seen, Gaëlle, is the use cases can develop and be slightly different because each company has different content types. They may have different types of systems. So how you implement it, really what we wanted to do today, and in our prep, Gaëlle, we were talking about, showing enough that people get the idea, because really it's when you sit down and look at your own situation that you can define, okay, how can we use those assets best for us?
Absolutely. We are more and more asked by our customer and prospects to help them to have this reflection and to benefit from other use cases, of course, because sometimes they don't know and they just need to see how they can leverage all this technology. So I agree, 100%. So what's next now?
Well, we're towards the end of our talk. We're going to give you all a chance to answer questions real soon. This functionality works. It's a working functionality. It works for a particular category of fuzzy matches. Remember the black cat from earlier. So mid-level. In the new year, we will release the ability for other categories. So we'll have more mid-high level category matches, so that will extend the net, if you like our picture there. It's really an exciting space, and we're looking forward to more of our customers mining for gold and getting gains from assets which they already have. You know, you're basically doing more with what you have. So what's that like to not to like there?
Yeah, and I think again we would like to ask the audience to help us in this in the next steps and to see what they want us to do. So I think we can launch a second poll. Poll is better, no?
Yeah, poll I think will work. I see it now. Are you interested in finding out more about the solution? No, I'm not for now. Thank you very much. Maybe later. That's fine. And then if you would like information on either company or the joint functionality that we're showing today, please tick a box. Again, your default, if you don't want to hear anything, not for now, and perhaps in the future we can have a conversation.
Everyone can actually ask their questions. You must. Okay, I just received one question that I will attribute to Gaëlle, so she can answer it. And everyone, you can in the audience, you can actually write your question, so we can answer it live.
Yeah. So I see a question, and it's really asking about the applicability of the solution. How applicable is it? Well, it's a bit of a general question, but thank you for asking. And really, this is once you have translation memory assets, and most companies would either using some system for managing that, such as a CAT tool, maybe a translation management system, maybe working with the translation supply chain, you would have access to good validated translation memory assets. And nowadays that's super important. So once you have, that's kind of the input, if you like, then the rest of this is possible. So then the using a translation management system and a neural machine translation system is absolutely available to you. And as we've seen, it's basic new technology nowadays, especially if you're trying to go global and scale that strategy as well with larger content amounts. Thanks for that question. Do we have any others, Gaëlle?
I don't know. Okay, so hello and thank you very much for the insights. You're welcome. Why are only mid-level fuzzy matches taken into account and not also higher matches? Thank you.
Yeah, I can take that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So the architecture, the original architecture of this was to make use of mid-level fuzzies where if you think about the fuzzy match categories, high-level fuzzies, let's say 90–95% matches. If you have 13, 14 words in a sentence, there may be one word difference would be in that category. So typically those categories would not be as useful to neural machine translation. Certainly mid-fuzzies can give a lot more use. So we've seen the volumes were higher, the use case volumes are higher, but having put this together, it's a bit like anything, right? Once you start doing it, you kind of figure out, oh, you know what, now we know what to do next. So we are addressing the next phase of category matches, which we're moving up. And part of this is when people see gains and they say, I'll have more of that, thank you very much. So that was the approach, but the sweet spot originally was the mid-fuzzy category levels. Hopefully I'm answering that question for the
yeah, it was, I think it was very clear. Thank you, Dave. I have another one for you. So someone asked you, XTM is a cloud solution, question mark. We use SYSTRAN as an on-premise solution. Is it possible to use the XTM enhancement on-premise as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We similar to what Gaëlle said at the outset, We have different ways to use our system. So we have multi-tenant cloud, we have a single-tenant cloud, we have on-premise as well. So we have that ability, and it's native. That's been there all the way through within the architecture of our system. And you know, various things can trigger different types of needs, of course, and some people have needs for particular technology stacks and locations. So we cater for those as well. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, it was important to know that. Okay, I think I have another question that is quite similar to one you answered before, but perhaps to clarify. So what do you see? So the reason why using mid-range fuzzies again, but put in another way, what do you see as being the danger of using fuzzy adaptation with low fuzzies? And what not uses also for high fuzzies? So high fuzzies, I think you answered already, but for perhaps the low ones.
I think one of the big, this is a new technology. We brought it to market in March this year. And as we're developing into it, there's more things that we can do. So I wouldn't discount where we go next beyond the high fuzzies, as I mentioned, being available early next year. But I do understand there are complexities as you go down the fuzzy match category levels. But it's a great question, and it's one which certainly we'll be happy to provide more information on in both subsequent webinars, which we're planning by the end of the year, but also in articles that we write on this feature. So thank you for asking that really fantastic question, and I'll be happy to give more information later.
Yeah, of course. And another one could be interesting also. It's how the system deal with multiple mid fuzzies.
Yeah, that's really good question. And like a lot of the interactions with translation memories, you know, there can be a prioritization order where and there is some logic to determine either for a translator if it's been tested manually as to which one to choose above another one. But it's a very good question, because you could have you know, two mid fuzzies which are quite different, but our experience is that that's something which a translator can typically make a good decision on in most use cases. But yeah, great question.
I can also add something to that. So for example, when you have a match from the ranges from 75 to 84, and if the fuzzy match is 84, for example, so the highest possible within that range, and then you have another fuzzy match which is like 75 or 76, then obviously the, so to say, better match is taken, right? And it's then used together with SYSTRAN MT. So it then obviously increases the quality and consistency with the previous translation, and also it's much better to use, requires less rework. We also take into account the date and when the specific match was added. So the newest matches from fuzzy matches in this case are taken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another one, can the user define which resources to be included? Are these only resources attached to the project or even outside the project? Is it only TMs that are used? Can the user set a fuzzy match limit?
I can explain it, I think.
Thank you.
So obviously there is a setting in XTM which allows you to, for example, make the SYSTRAN MT kick in, right? And so for example, when you have the 75 to 84 translation memory matches, then obviously ideally with this feature you want to have SYSTRAN MT and combined with TM to be used. And you can use all your resources that you have, and I'm talking about the TM right now, so all the translation memories that you have imported into XTM. They will work together with MT, right, in the way I showed you. And when it comes to other resources, the idea is that everything should be self-contained or contained in XTM, right? So when you have everything in XTM, all the translation memories together with SYSTRAN MT, then the results will be optimal. And it's also possible to apply terminology. That's a different story completely, but it's also possible to apply terminology for the specific matches. So it's like an additional, quality check as well that can be done. So all these three, I would say, factors are important.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we covered the majority of the question, and I don't want to take too much time to you guys, because I know that so 45 minutes is great. And so what I suggest, if there is other question, you see on this slide our contact, so you can of course send us an email or to XTM or to SYSTRAN, and both we will be happy also to forward. And so don't hesitate, because of course you can also be interested to discuss your own specific projects. So we will be happy to do that with you. And I just wanted, before ending this webinar, just wanted to share with you that we will be, XTM and us, we will be at the TACOM event, so in November, so from 8 to 10 in Stuttgart. So we will be also very pleased to welcome you on our booth, and it will be a pleasure also to show you many demonstrations and many information around all that. So thank you everyone for your attention, for your questions, for your participation. It was a great webinar, because when people are participating, it's just great for us also. So thank you for that. You will, as I said, you will receive the recording by email soon. Thanks, Dave. It was a pleasure to share the stage with you.
Pleasure was mine, Gaëlle. Thanks everybody for joining.
Sorry for my English, but it's like that. It's a French sexy touch. I'm not sure, but we can try this. So have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.